So I'm myself, Evin Insi, member of the European Parliament. It is indeed a pleasure to address you today on behalf of the whole European Parliament observation delegation that is sitting here together with us. And we are, of course, also part of the European Union Election Observation Mission. The delegation consists of 6 members of the European Parliament representing different parties but coming from 5 different European Union member states. This is the 5th EU election observation mission to Kenya since 2002. It demonstrates the EU's strong commitment to support the people of Kenya and its strong democratic institutions. It also reflects the fact that Kenya is a crucial pillar of stability in East Africa and a source of inspiration on the African continent and beyond. As such, the elections have drawn the attentions of the region and the wider international community. The European Parliament, the only directly elected body of the EU, representing over 447 million European citizens, have also observed these elections. First and foremost, I want to stress our full endorsement of the findings presented today by my colleague and friend, the Chief Observer, Ivan Stefanek. I thank him for his work and the very good cooperation. I would also like to thank all Kenyan stakeholders who made time to meet us, paving the way for us to conduct a thorough election observation. And of course also a big thanks to the Kenyan authorities for the invitation and the support for us to conduct our mission. Furthermore, we would like to express our great respect to the people of Kenya for having held 6 elections simultaneously. This is an enormous challenge, but also a tangible proof of what this country is capable of achieving. It is even more noteworthy if one considers the elections took place against the backdrop of widespread economic distress following the COVID-19 pandemic on one hand and the Russian invasion in Ukraine on the other hand, which led to the rising cost of living internationally but also here in Kenya. Dear all, during our stay in Kenya, we have met with the representatives of the main coalitions, the Independent and Electoral and Boundaries Commission, Iebc, as well as ELOG, faith-based leaders, media representatives, academics, and civil society organizations, including youth organizations representing young people, women, and persons with disabilities. According to our preliminary findings, the elections have so far been very peaceful. We congratulate the Kenyan society on this. It is a good sign for the country and its future. Kenyans are showing that they want and demand peace and prosperity. The fact that the public conversation has revolved more around socio-economic issues reflects this wish. In this regard, we commend the people of Kenya and the signature of the Peace Charter by the presidential candidates and/or their representatives, made possible by the active engagement of civil society. We expect that they will abide by their commitments until the results are declared by the Iebc and beyond. And I would also like to express the importance of continuing keeping calm throughout the whole process and beyond, including peaceful transition of power when elections are concluded. From our observations and meetings, we see that the Kenyan electoral authorities aim to run a successful elections and avoid errors of the past. Nevertheless, the legal framework has remained essentially unchanged and fragmented. This is something legislators should reflect upon to increase confidence in the electoral system. In addition, citizens' trust in the electoral process will increase if the electoral disputes and whatever changes to the electoral laws and procedures are deemed necessary are introduced well ahead of the campaigns and election. When looking at the law and regulations, it is evident that there is a great will of ensuring inclusiveness. However, this issue of inclusiveness in the electoral process in relation to the participation of young people, women, persons with disabilities, and other groups demands further efforts. First, the low level of youth registration is worrisome. To the young people, I want to say that you are important for the country, both now and the future. Your voice and your vote are important. I would therefore like to underline, be conscious that democracies are better equipped to give an answer to improving your economic and social prospects. As for the political parties, I would like to urge them to be more open to the participation of young people in their structures and policies as well as decision-making, so that they reflect the country's demography and diversity even more. The inclusion of the whole society ensures increased trust in the whole system. Second, the provision in the Constitution of Kenya, according to which not more than 2/3 of the members of elective public bodies shall be of the same gender, should be respected. The prosperity of any society depends directly on the degree of participation of all its citizens. That includes women and girls. We trust that the next parliament will take the necessary steps to ensure that these constitutional provisions enter into force. The same goes for other vulnerable groups, of course. Their participation in the electoral processes is a matter of dignity. Finally, we believe that the electoral system would greatly benefit from transparency with respect to the campaign funding and spending. The lack of regulation in this regard creates an unleveled playing field, including for women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Moreover, transparency and public scrutiny is a powerful tool to overcome a level of apathy and distrust, because it is what it is about, distrust that exists in some part of the Kenyan society. Concerning election day, we observed Nairobi, Machakos, and Kiambu. So we were 2 members of the European Parliament in each place. The atmosphere in general was good, despite some challenges. During election days, we witnessed some shortcomings, which the chief observer have already pointed out and require improvement. Once more, we adhere to his remarks. I would also like to add that we witnessed issues with opening the manual register of voters and the identification of voters via KIEMS. Nevertheless, I would like to extend our sincere thanks to the polling station staff, who demonstrated an impressive diligence to ensure that the election day runs as smoothly as possible. A simplification, clarification, and consolidation of the electoral procedures would facilitate their tasks enormously. We would also like to commend the civic spirit shown by Kenyan voters, their patience at the polling stations, and their commitment to democracy. We do note, however, that these elections saw a modest voter turnout. My final words will be to reaffirm the EU, as a long-standing partner of this country, will continue to support Kenya and its people. The European Parliament, in particular, as the voice of the European citizens, is committed to enhancing its cooperation with the next government and parliament in the months and years to come. We hope that this cooperation can include accompanying the process of implementation of the recommendations in the final report of the EU Election Observation Mission.
Furthermore, the distribution of cash by candidates to voters during the campaign is a practice that is at odds with democratic principles. The initial stages of the elections were managed effectively and professionally by the Iebc. And we also welcome the level of transparency that the Iebc has provided to the public, who can access the results forms on the Iebc web portal. As polling day approached, significant uncertainties persisted, which had an impact on the election day procedures. These uncertainties were a result of the Iebc wanting to be responsive to past criticism. However, many of the decisions could have been considered sooner, but were instead dealt with as they emerged. The Iebc needed to wait for legal processes to finalize certain key decisions, as we know, for instance, the ballot printing. The Iebc could have done more to communicate more clearly with stakeholders throughout the process to enhance public trust. However, this has improved in last weeks. The use of technology in this election was a key point of discussion throughout the electoral process, from its procurement to the implementation. While the Iebc stressed that the paper-based process is the basis of the system and that the result of the tallying process could be reconstructed in case of system failure, this could have been better communicated. The legal framework provides a good basis for the conduct of democratic elections, and there is a high public trust in the judiciary. This is very positive. Candidate registration resulted in over 16,000 contestants for all 6 elections, giving voters a real choice. However, women made up only 12% of the candidates, which is lower than expected given the constitutional provisions efforts from many stakeholders to increase their participation. A small number of decisions related to candidate registration was challenged, and these were handled expeditiously. The media were covering the elections extensively in broadcast and print. Despite this free atmosphere, media professionals expressed concerns about danger and threats to their profession in covering sensitive issues, especially around politics and corruption. The candidate debates, which were extensively covered by all media, were a missed opportunity at the presidential level when 2 of the 4 candidates dropped out. The state-owned broadcaster provided the electorate with broad information. Radio stations broadcasting in local languages were segmented and showed bias, while newspapers offered a more balanced reporting. Social media were used extensively throughout the campaign. Disinformation was spread via online platforms with elements of coordinated, inauthentic behavior found by the EU Election Observation Media Social Media Monitoring Unit. By the way, it was first time in Kenya we established this monitoring and this position. On election day, voters exercised their right to vote in a general peaceful manner throughout the day. The process was calm, albeit prolonged, due to complex procedures. Opening, voting, and counting took place generally in line with established procedures. Polling stations visited by our missions observers opened late in some cases, mainly due to logistical delays and equipment issues. Regarding voting, our observers assessed it positively in most cases. The biometric voter identification at times didn't function properly, creating queues. During closing, some polling stations didn't follow all established integrity measures. No official complaints, however, were lodged at polling stations visited at closing. Tabulation is still ongoing, as we know, and as we speak, we are observing it. However, our observers have been kept at some distance from the process, which is reducing transparency. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the process has been peaceful so far, and we do hope that it will continue in a credible and transparent way that will bring confidence. Our mission remains deployed to follow the electoral processes through to the conclusion. After completion of the process, our mission will deliver a final report that will include recommendations addressing issues identified in this electoral process.